Before the U.S. raised a single flag, the West was already claimed, and not by settlers or soldiers. A force so strong, so feared, and so untouchable ruled the land. Most history books skip this part, but it changed everything before America even began. When Spanish conquistadors brought horses to the Americas in the 1500s, they had no idea they were creating their biggest problem. The Comanche got these animals in the late 1600s through trading, raiding, and finding strays from Spanish settlements. Getting horses from the Spanish was like accidentally teaching your neighbor's kid how to beat you at your own game. The Comanche went completely overboard with horses. While other tribes used them as helpful additions, the Comanche threw out their old lifestyle and built everything around these animals. They became the first tribe to go fully nomadic on the southern plains. Why walk everywhere when you could gallop at 30 miles per hour? Comanche children learned to ride when they were barely 5 or 6 years old. By their teenage years, they could perform stunts that seemed impossible. They could hang off a galloping horse while shooting arrows with deadly accuracy, reload weapons at full speed, and control their mounts using just their knees. Watching a Comanche warrior ride was like watching someone play a video game with cheat codes turned on. Some wealthy families owned over 1,000 horses. These weren't just for showing off. Every horse had a job. Whether hunting buffalo, traveling long distances, or going to war, the Comanche developed special saddles and riding techniques that gave them incredible mobility. The military advantages were obvious. A mounted Comanche warrior could strike fast and disappear before enemies knew what happened. They could cover vast distances in a single day, making them nearly impossible to track. Fighting mounted Comanche was like playing tag with someone who could teleport. This horse mastery gave them serious economic power too. They controlled the best hunting grounds and trade routes. Better horses meant more successful raids, which brought more wealth than horses, which attracted more followers. The whole system fed on itself, making them stronger each year. Their success with horses was just the foundation for building something much bigger. The Comanche controlled territory that was absolutely massive. Comancheria stretched across Texas, Oklahoma, eastern New Mexico, southeastern Colorado, and southwestern Kansas. This area was bigger than most European countries. The Comanche didn't just own property, they owned entire states. What made this empire unusual was how it worked without any central government. Each band governed itself while sharing the same language and culture. They coordinated activities across hundreds of miles without a president or king telling everyone what to do. It was like running multiple successful restaurants without a corporate headquarters. Somehow it just worked. Between 20,000 and 40,000 Comanche lived across this territory during peak years. This wasn't just warriors, this was complete families with children, elders, and specialists in everything from horse training to leather working. The Comanche became master traders, dealing with French merchants, Spanish colonists, and dozens of other tribes. They controlled commerce from the Great Lakes to Mexico City. They ran the delivery service of the 1800s, except instead of packages, they delivered either friendship or trouble, depending on how you treated them. Their control over buffalo herds was absolute. These animals provided everything from food to shelter materials. The Comanche knew exactly where herds would be throughout the year and guarded these resources carefully. Other tribes had to negotiate and pay tribute for hunting rights. Horse trading was equally important. The Comanche controlled routes between Spanish colonies and northern tribes. Anyone moving horses across the plains had to deal with them first. They were like heavily armed toll booth operators. You could try avoiding payment, but it wasn't recommended. This economic power led to political influence. Rival tribes and European settlers learned to respect the Comanche, offering gifts and making treaties. The Comanche played different groups against each other while staying independent. The system worked for over a century, but running such a large territory required more than military strength. Everything about Comanche life followed one rule. If you can't pack it and move it in an hour, you don't need it. They lived in teepees made from buffalo hides that could be disassembled and loaded onto horses faster than most people can clean their rooms. The Comanche were the original minimalists, except their lifestyle was about survival instead of being trendy. The nomadic lifestyle followed buffalo herds in predictable seasonal patterns. When spring came and herds moved north, the tribe followed. When winter approached and buffalo headed south, so did the Comanche. They had mapped these movements over generations. Buffalo provided almost everything needed for survival. Meat fed everyone. Hides became clothing and shelter, bones turned into tools, and dried dung served as fuel. Buffalo were like the ultimate multi-tool of the animal kingdom, except much larger and more useful. Work was divided practically between men and women. Men handled hunting, warfare, and protection. Women managed food preparation, hide processing, and childcare. This wasn't about limiting potential. This was about making sure essential jobs got done by people who excelled at them. Children learned adult responsibilities from early ages. Boys mastered riding, hunting, and weapons. Girls learned food preparation, hide work, and household management. These kids developed more practical skills by age 10 than most modern adults ever learn. Education happened through storytelling and ceremonies that passed down knowledge between generations. This was their school, library, and internet combined into one system that didn't need electricity. Marriage was treated as serious business between families rather than just romance. Parents negotiated marriages through gift-giving ceremonies, creating alliances that strengthened the tribe. Religious beliefs were woven into daily life through visions, nature spirits, and sacred objects. These practices held the community together and gave meaning to their challenging lifestyle. This organized society was perfectly designed for constant movement and frequent conflict. Comanche warfare was like deadly chess, where every move was planned ahead. Raiding wasn't random violence. It was a calculated strategy used to gain horses, captives, supplies, and respect. The Comanche approached fighting like master chefs approach cooking, with skill, timing, and just the right amount of heat. Small war parties were their secret weapon, while other groups sent huge armies making enough noise to wake everyone nearby. Comanche fighters moved in groups of 20 or 30 who slipped through territory like ghosts. They preferred night attacks, using darkness for surprise. Their weapons included bows, lances, war clubs, and eventually firearms from trade or battle. A skilled warrior could hit moving targets at 50 yards while riding full speed. Shooting accurately while bouncing on horseback was like threading a needle during an earthquake. Training started in childhood and never stopped. Warriors practiced constantly, competing in mock battles and hunting. The best gained status and respect, but also earned responsibility for protecting everyone. Camps were organized for defense. Scouts watched constantly for enemies, and warning systems could alert everyone within minutes. They had better security than modern neighborhoods without monthly fees or complicated technology. Taking captives served strategic purposes. Young ones could be adopted to replace people lost to disease or war. Others were traded for weapons, horses, or goods. Warrior status had to be earned through bravery and combat success. This wasn't about family connections. This was about proving yourself when lives depended on it. Standards were high because everyone's safety required warrior competence. Warfare followed seasonal patterns. Spring and summer were raiding seasons when good weather made travel easier. Winter was for recovery and planning next year's campaigns. Target selection was strategic, not random. The Comanche chose targets based on careful analysis of risk versus reward. This systematic approach made them incredibly effective, but also created powerful enemies. The early 1800s brought new neighbors with different ideas about land ownership. American settlers, Texas Rangers, and U.S. Army troops moved into Comanche territory. It was like strangers showing up in your backyard and building houses without permission. The U.S. military discovered traditional warfare was useless against Comanche fighters. Trying to battle mounted warriors was like trying to catch smoke with bare hands. Standard tactics of large formations simply didn't work against enemies who struck fast and vanished. Several major fights defined this conflict. The Council House fight in 1840 was supposed to be peaceful negotiation, but exploded into violence. Plum Creek saw organized resistance from Rangers and militia. Adobe Walls in 1874 was the final major battle. This wasn't just another fight. This was the season finale of a very long, violent series. Disease proved more devastating than any army. Smallpox and measles killed thousands who had no immunity. These invisible enemies showed no mercy and couldn't be fought with weapons. Buffalo destruction struck at Comanche civilization's foundation. Professional hunters killed millions for hides, leaving meat to rot. They turned the cornerstone of Comanche life into leather goods and ecological disaster. The military adapted strategy to target vulnerabilities instead of fighting strengths. Rather than direct combat, they attacked winter camps, destroyed food supplies, and captured horse herds. If you can't catch the enemy, destroy everything they need to survive. This was brutally effective, but harsh on everyone. By 1875, organized resistance had ended. Survivors were relocated to reservations, ending over a century of independence. But Comanche society included practices controversial even then. The Comanche captive system was complicated and controversial. Raids targeted Spanish settlements, Mexican ranches, frontier homes, and rival tribes, bringing back people who faced different fates based on age, gender, and adaptability. Children made the most valuable captives because young minds adapted completely to new culture. Kids absorbed new ways of life like sponges, and families knew young captives could become full tribal members within years. These children grew up speaking Comanche and developing fierce loyalty to adopted families. Women experienced varying treatment. Some were adopted and married Comanche men, gaining full acceptance. Others remained in subordinate positions doing domestic work. Success often depended on adaptability. Those embracing new situations fared better than those fighting it. Adult male captives faced uncertain prospects. Men from enemy groups were seen as security risks who might never accept Comanche authority. Some exceptional individuals were adopted for valuable skills, but many became laborers or trade goods. Captive trading became significant regional commerce by the mid-1700s. Spanish settlements purchased people for servants and workers. The Comanche operated like skilled middlemen, connecting supply with demand across vast distances. Some captives achieved remarkable success within Comanche society. Being captured didn't automatically mean misery. Many lived comfortably, married respected families, and gained influence. Acceptance and loyalty could open doors that birth circumstances kept closed. The system served practical purposes beyond economics. It functioned like intensive immigration, maintaining population despite losses from war and disease. Adopted captives filled critical gaps and maintained community strength. The practice declined as military pressure increased and territory became less secure. When hunting grounds filled with armed settlers and cavalry, the old business model stopped working. By reservation time, captive taking had essentially ended. The system that helped build their empire became another casualty of changing times. The Comanche transformed from nomadic horse masters into continental empire builders, creating a sophisticated society that dominated the American West for generations.